frequent is sex the issue in divorce? As in, I'm not talking about affairs, I'm saying sexlessness.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And also, is it increasing?
Yeah, so here's what I'll say. There's reverse engineering the demise of a marriage is a very difficult thing for anybody to do because the two people in the relationship aren't even really fully aware of what's going on in themselves, much less each other. And then an outside observer asking them. So like, you can do all the studies you want of people's self-reported satisfaction or lack of satisfaction in a relationship or what caused them to become dissatisfied. That is so loaded up with people's delusion and people's projection and all these other things that I don't think you can quantify it. So everything I'm saying as a divorce lawyer who I think is empathetic and who I think for a living puts myself in other people's mind to try to understand what they're doing and why they did what they did and come up with the best and worst possible excuses for it. And then to tell that story, right? Like I'm a full contact storyteller. That's my job. So, and my job, if you're really honest, is to manipulate people's emotional state. My job is to make a judge feel good about my client, bad about the other side, make the other side feel scared, make my client feel safe. That's my job, is to manipulate everybody's emotional state through the power of storytelling. That's what being a divorce lawyer is. It sounds sexier when I say it that way, but that is what it is. So when we look at that as the job, where does sex fall into that equation? It's everywhere in that equation. Because again, it is the thing that separates this relationship from other kinds of relationships. Sex is a thing that is definitional to a romantic relationship. Now again, will it always be the same? Will it always stay at the same level of importance? No. But is it a great canary in the coal mine? That, you know, like something's off with the sex now? That tragedy's not far behind? Yeah. Like, because almost every couple, when I talk to my side of the equation about when did this ship start to sink, there was certainly some change in sex. Because again, sex is definitional in terms of what distinguishes a romantic relationship from a platonic relationship. Because listen, guys, we can do this however we want as a society. We don't have to get married. We do not have to get married. We just have to reproduce. But we could just decide, hey, we're just gonna reproduce and we're gonna live in like colonies of platonic, relationships, and we'll just have sex for the purposes of breeding at certain times, and then we'll figure out who gets to raise what kids, and that'll be that. We don't do that. And it's not like, well, we don't do that because we've made a set of rules. Societies don't do that. They've never really done that. Like there's somehow this permutation in the human and animal kingdom keeps coming up where we have pair bonds and we reproduce with the person who's our partner, and then we sort of work together. And how much does the tribe, how much does the rest of the world get involved in that? How extended is the family? How extended is the tribe? That varies, right? From species to species, from culture to culture, from time to time. But this fundamental idea of like reproduction between, the male and the female of the species, and there being some then continued interaction and a sharing of responsibilities towards the rearing of the young, it's pretty common, right? So what's the thing that makes A and B? It's the sex. Like there's sex. There's some romantic or sexual component to that relationship that then leads to reproduction of some kind. So I think when you take that out of the equation, or when there's a change in that, there's a disruption in the force, right? There's a disruption in the system. And then you can trace it back. Like, and again, sometimes it's not direct cause and effect. Like, we started having less sex, and then we stopped being nice to each other. Sometimes it's stopped being nice to each other, so we stopped having as much sex. But it's an element. It's always an element there, And then that's my key piece of advice to everyone in the book that I try to say over and over and over again. If you had to summarize it, is pay attention. Just pay attention to what you're feeling, to what your partner's feeling, and then say it. I say that all marital problems stem from two things. I don't know what I want, and I don't know how to express it. And I think if you can figure that out, if you can figure out what you want and figure out how to express it, that's like 99% of the battle.
When someone gets to you, How often do they go from getting to a divorce lawyer, having that conversation, we want to separate, to repairing and rebuilding and getting back to happiness?
Yeah, it's a great question. So as my career has progressed, I am now a guy who you hire when you're in a really bad situation. So I'm a trial lawyer. So now, you can do things with a scalpel and you can do them with a chainsaw. I'm a chainsaw now. Like now you hire me because your situation's bad.
Because you're more expensive? Is that?
No, I'm more expensive because I'm really good in high conflict situations. I'm really tactical. Mm-hmm. I'm really strategic. I think 10 moves ahead, and I outpace everyone with my work ethic. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I wake up very sharp, and I'm immediately thinking about clients and cases, and I'm dedicated to this work in an absolutely insane way. In a way that is in no way good as a human being. It's really, really, I'm a great lawyer. I'm questionable as a human being, but I'm really, really good as a lawyer because I'm better at this than I've ever been at anything in my life.
Have you ever seen someone get to you and then go back to perfect?
Yeah, for many years in my career, early in my career, the first decade or more of my career, when I handled more sort of regular people's divorces, yeah, I would frequently try to steer people if I thought that was possible. I still, to this day, if I think it's possible for people to work something out, either in individual counseling and then maybe couples counseling, I will steer them in that direction, of course.
Who cheats more, men or women?
I think both men and women cheat with a tremendous amount of frequency. I think that, I don't think that you could really say one does it more than the other. I think that more men are accused of having ruined the relationship by cheating than women are.
Who's more dissatisfied with the amount of sex, men or women?
Men, generally.
Men want more sex?
Men generally want more sex. Women want more quality sex. Men are quantity based, in my experience, coming to sex. And that's like men would rather have frequent sex that may not be the highest possible quality, but it like kind of gets the job done. I mean, it's the same reason why pornography is more popular with men than women. I think that men are just like, I got to get the poison out of my system here. I got to get on with my day. And I'm not going to be able to think straight until I just get that over with. And so I think that women, it's a different. I don't think women, don't find sex important. I hate to make generalizations about gender, but from my seat, the number of men that come in and say to me, like, yeah, like she's just not sleeping with me. Well, what did she expect? Like, of course I slept with somebody else. Like she was like sleeping with me once a week. She was sleeping with me once a month. I've had clients who came in and were like, yeah, we hadn't had sex in 6 years. 6 years? Like, first of all, why would you put up with that? Second of all, if you're this person's spouse, what the hell did you think was going on? You thought things were okay? Like, yeah, we haven't had sex in 6 years. We just forgot to do that. Like, I get it if you didn't clean your gutters in 6 years, or, maybe like I get it if you didn't change your oil in a year. Like, it's a bad idea, but like I get it. I could slip your mind. Like, oh my God, I haven't been to the dentist in a year. But sex?
You must have heard a lot of affair stories.
Oh my God. Please, if you could have like a PhD in infidelity, I would have it. Yeah, I mean, it's because cheating is a huge component to divorces, so many divorces. But the question is always cause or effect. And the danger of putting so much emphasis on cheating is that it's an oversimplification. So someone comes in and goes, we're getting divorced. Why? Because he's sleeping with his secretary. I get it. Like, yes, that's true. That is one of the variables that has led to your divorce. But you hadn't slept with him in 3 years. So I'm not saying that makes the cheating forgivable, but you're saying you had a really super awesome, healthy marriage and then this nefarious secretary came into the picture and suddenly he was wooed away? No, there were conditions that made that very likely to happen, right? And so let's start going back a little further in the cause. Like the truth is at the bottom of a bottomless pit. So we can try to reverse engineer this and say, well, he slept with his secretary because you weren't sleeping with him. I wasn't sleeping with him because he wasn't nice to me. Well, I wasn't nice to him because he was never paying any attention to me. Well, I wasn't paying attention to her because what did I want to pay attention to? She hasn't changed at all, or she's changed so much and she's nothing like she used to be. And again, everyone, you'll be shocked to hear, when they tell the story of their life, they're usually the hero. They rarely come into my office and go, listen, I'm a piece of garbage, you know? But I will tell you, when it comes to cheating, sometimes they do.
I was going to say, you must have had people come in and admit things to you about their current affairs that you just blow your mind. Is there a particular example where you go, that was the most shocking example that I'd heard of someone deceiving the marital commitment?
Yeah, I mean, I've had people come in and tell me stories that I just think to myself, like, how did you actually, like, just the engineering of it. Like, I've had people who came in and they had two families happening at once, and neither of them knew about the other. Like that the mistress who he started a family with, like, thought he was divorced, and the wife thought that he was traveling for business, and like, he would literally have Christmas with both. He would have Thanksgiving with both. Like, and he just found a way to sort of logistically do it. And I've seen things like that many times. I mean, I've seen people, it's almost become a cliche that people who sleep with their sister-in-law or their brother-in-law or
mother-in-law?
Their cousin. Oh, and I haven't seen mother-in-law yet.
Father-in-law?
I have seen father-in-law. Yeah, I have seen father-in-law. Yeah, I saw that one. There's a chapter in my book about nannies, about people sleep with the nanny. That's pretty common.
Why do you talk in the book about how wealthy clients like to sleep with the nanny?
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I mean, I have a theory about it, and I think that what I call the nanny fascination. I think that it's not that hard to understand. Like, the nanny is a lot of the characteristics of the wife, right? She's good with the kids. She's there to be a supportive other to the husband. She's a helpmate, you know, but without any of the autonomy and agency, without any of the, like, she's an employee at the end of the day. And it's so much simpler of a relationship in the sense that it's like, you got to do a good job or I'm going to fire you, you know? So
not talking back.
Yeah, don't talk back because I'm your employer, you know, and you're not going to. So I think I get it. You know, I get it. I also think too that, and this is dangerous ground, especially in the year of our Lord 2024. But I think she's also a version of the wife. Like, she's a version of the wife when the wife was just a woman. Like, she has a life outside the home. Like, when she's not nannying, she's out doing stuff, and so she's got things to talk about. Like, she's gone places, she does things. There's something mysterious about her, you know? And I think that's one of the advice I give in the book is that I think that wives can embrace the part of themselves that's the nanny. Like, take the time to, like, don't let your spouse and your children eclipse who you are. Like, who you are is who your husband fell in love with. Like, your kids exist because a man and a woman found each other attractive, you know? And so don't forget, in your desire to be a good parent and your desire to be a good partner, don't forget to be really good to yourself and to cultivate your interests and your passions and to try to enjoy them as best you can, you know, without shirking. Obviously, none of us wants to shirk our responsibilities to our families and to our children, but you're important. Like, I think people are, the husband and the wife, you know, are important, or in a same-sex marriage, husband, wife. You're important to each other. You know, remember who you are. Remember the value you brought to the relationship.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.